Welcome to Frontier Echoes, where every story carries a whisper of fate and every decision leaves an echo in time. If you believe that choices shape destinies, then stay with us till the end, because tonight's story will make you think twice before judging anyone's path. This is the story of Sarah Miller, a woman whose life changed overnight, quite literally. It all began in a quiet little frontier town nestled between rolling hills and a dusty riverbank, sometime in the 1880s. The kind of town where gossip traveled faster than the mail coach and reputation was everything. Sarah was a seamstress, young, soft-spoken, with eyes the color of morning skies. She had dreams of her own, to run her own shop someday, to live honestly and humbly. But life in the West was rarely kind to dreamers. Her friends, if you could call them that, were other young women from town. They'd meet at the well, chatter about the latest barn dances, and whisper about who was courting whom. Sarah often stood apart, listening but rarely speaking. She didn't share their hunger for fancy dresses or the attention of cowboys. She wanted something steadier, something real. One afternoon, after church service, the girls gathered by the oak tree near the square. Among them was Lydia, the loudest of the bunch, confident, charming, and a little cruel. "So, Sarah," Lydia teased, "we heard you've been talking to that man again, the farmer from the hills. What's his name? Elijah something?" Sarah's cheeks warmed. "Elijah Cole," she said softly. "He's kind. Helps me carry water sometimes." Lydia laughed. "Kind? He's poor. That man lives in a cabin smaller than my chicken coop. You could do better, Sarah. You deserve silk and gold, not mud and sweat." The other girls giggled. Sarah smiled faintly but said nothing. Deep down, she knew Elijah was a good man, quiet, hard-working, gentle with his words. When he smiled, it wasn't with charm but with warmth. He'd once helped her fix a broken sewing wheel without being asked. The next few weeks, Sarah and Elijah began to meet more often, by the river, near her shop, under the sycamore tree at dusk. They'd talk about dreams, about building a home someday, maybe near the meadow where wildflowers grew thick in summer. Still, every time Sarah's friends saw them together, they mocked her. "Look at her," Lydia would whisper loudly. "Playing wife to a nobody. Maybe she thinks love fills your stomach," another snickered. But Sarah didn't care. She saw something in Elijah's eyes, honesty, strength, and peace. That was enough. Then one evening, Elijah took her hand as the sun set behind the hills. "Sarah," he said softly, "I don't have much. Just a small farm, 2 horses, and a dream. But I'll spend my life trying to make you happy. Would you be my wife?" Her heart leapt. She nodded, tears shining in her eyes. "Yes, Elijah. I will." When the town heard the news, whispers turned into storms. Lydia led the laughter this time. "She's marrying a dirt farmer," she exclaimed. "Poor thing will wake up one morning and realize her mistake, just wait and see." But Sarah didn't flinch. On a crisp autumn morning, she stood in a simple white dress under the chapel's wooden arch. Elijah looked at her as if she was made of sunlight. They exchanged vows with nothing but a gold band and a promise, and walked hand in hand toward their new life. The first few months were hard. The cabin was small, the nights cold, and money short. But Sarah learned the rhythm of the land. She rose before dawn to milk the cows, helped Elijah in the fields, and mended clothes for nearby families. And somehow, she found joy in it. Every evening, when Elijah returned from the pasture, they'd share stories by the fire, laughing softly. Meanwhile, Lydia and the others continued their gossip. "How long do you think before she comes crawling back?" they'd ask each other in town. "A month? 2. But winter passed. Then spring bloomed. And Sarah never came back. By the second year, the farm began to flourish. Elijah's crops grew strong, and they saved enough to buy 2 more horses. Sarah even started a small corner shop near the church, sewing clothes for neighbors who admired her skill. Slowly, people began to notice how happy she looked, peaceful, glowing. One afternoon, as Sarah was selling a new dress to a customer, Lydia walked in. She wore a bright gown and a sour smile. "Well, look at you," Lydia said. "Still sewing, I see. Thought the farm life would wear you down by now." Sarah smiled politely. "Work keeps me grateful." Lydia leaned closer. "Grateful? For what, mud and sweat?" Sarah folded the dress carefully. "For love that's real." Lydia rolled her eyes and left without another word. But deep down, her pride stung. That night, as Sarah returned home, the wind carried the scent of rain. Elijah met her halfway, helping her carry the basket. "Storm's comin'," he said gently. "We'd best get the horses inside." The thunder rolled in before midnight. Lightning flashed over the fields. Sarah stood by the window, watching the storm rage, her heart full of strange peace. She thought of how far she'd come, from being mocked to building a life she truly loved. But fate wasn't done testing her. That night, while tending to the animals, Elijah slipped on the muddy ground and injured his leg badly. The doctor came the next morning, wrapping it in splints. "He'll recover," the doctor said, "but he'll need weeks of rest." Sarah worked twice as hard, tending the animals, plowing the fields, sewing late into the night. Neighbors offered help, but she refused most of it. She wanted Elijah to see that love wasn't just words, it was action. Weeks passed. Elijah healed slowly, but the farm's progress suffered. Sarah grew thinner, her hands calloused, her back aching. Yet every morning, she still smiled at sunrise, whispering prayers of thanks. Then one morning, she woke up, and couldn't stand straight. Her back screamed with pain, and her legs trembled. Elijah rushed to her side. "Sarah. What's wrong?" She tried to speak but only gasped. The doctor came again and said softly, "She's overworked, Elijah. Her body's given out from exhaustion. She needs rest, real rest." Elijah sat beside her bed, guilt heavy in his chest. "You carried us, sweetheart," he whispered. "Now it's my turn." For days, Sarah could hardly move. Elijah took care of everything, cooked, cleaned, and even tried sewing, poorly but earnestly. Neighbors came by with food and flowers. The town, once so quick to mock her, now saw her courage. Word spread that Sarah Miller, the woman everyone had laughed at, had built one of the finest farms in the valley through sheer determination and love. Even Lydia came by once, holding a small basket of berries. "I came to check on you," Lydia said awkwardly. Sarah smiled weakly from her bed. "Thank you, Lydia. That's kind of you." Lydia hesitated. "You really love him, don't you?" Sarah's eyes softened. "With all I am." Lydia looked down. "I used to laugh at you for choosing him. But I see now, you found what we're all looking for." Tears glistened in her eyes as she placed the basket down and left quietly. As weeks turned to months, Sarah slowly recovered. Elijah built her a wooden chair for the porch, and they'd sit together every evening, watching the sun dip behind the hills. Sometimes he'd tease her gently, "Remember when you couldn't stand straight? I thought you'd never let me cook again." Sarah laughed. "You still can't cook, Elijah." Their laughter echoed across the fields, pure and free. Years later, when travelers passed through the valley, they'd often stop by the Miller farm, a place now famous for its golden crops and gentle owners. They'd see an old couple sitting side by side, hands clasped, eyes full of love that had weathered storms. One such traveler once asked Sarah, "Ma'am, how did you build all this? Didn't people tell you you'd fail?" Sarah smiled softly. "They did. But I learned that what others mock today often becomes their envy tomorrow. Never measure love or worth by what the crowd says. Measure it by peace in your heart." The traveler nodded, moved by her words. And long after they were gone, people in that town still told the story of Sarah Miller, the woman whose friends mocked her choice, who worked herself to the edge, who once woke unable to stand, yet stood taller in spirit than anyone else. Her story became a lesson passed down from mother to daughter. That love built on truth outlasts beauty, wealth, and gossip. That even when the world mocks your path, walking it with faith will always lead you home. As the years faded into history, the Miller farm remained a quiet symbol of courage, devotion, and the price of true love. And if you ever pass through those golden fields, you might still feel the warmth of their laughter carried by the wind. That was the story of Sarah Miller, the woman whose friends mocked her choice, but who proved that a heart led by love never truly falls. Thank you for listening to Frontier Echoes, where every story is a heartbeat of the past, and every echo carries a lesson worth remembering. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? Until next time, stay kind, stay strong, and let the echoes of the frontier live on in you.